Hey there. Today we're going to be talking about starting new relationships and all the interesting things that come along with that in today's episode of Get Naked Monday. Because let me tell you, starting a new relationship is both simultaneously exciting and also pretty scary. Because there's a lot of risk that comes involved with that. So we're just learning to navigate all that good stuff. So let's jump right into it. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to thoughtraid, a show where we take on thoughts and find better ways of thinking about them. I'm Brandon. I think. And this is Eric, and you all know Tim. And today we're going to be having Get Naked Monday, where we metaphorically get naked about things going on in our own lives and how we're handling it. So that's going to be fun. Today, we're talking about starting new relationships and all of the wonderful things that go on involved with that. Not necessarily going to go into details about said relationships, but in general, we're going to be talking about that. So that's going to be fun. And this is something that's been on your mind, Tim. And as always, I'd like to throw things over to you after we start.
Yeah, so it's February. Happy February, everybody. If you are excited for February 14th, awesome. And if you're not, you're probably single.
Wow! Yikes.
But that's what I want to talk about, because whether you're in a relationship or you're looking for a romantic relationship, new in a romantic relationship, or seeking one, just getting over that hump of, man, let's start this thing, or let me introduce myself, or is there chemistry there? It's really scary, and it's kind of a muddled situation a lot of the times. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just want to talk about that, because a lot of times when you're in the relationship, it's a 50-50 thing, but making the intentional decision to pursue a relationship it's a completely different story. Like, I know so many situations where there are girls who are like, man, if the guy... Why don't they just ask me out? But then the guy's thinking, man, if I ask her out, then there's so much pressure to follow up and for it to be something special and something amazing. And then there's all these expectations around it. And it's like nobody's moving because everybody's scared, or worried. And it's been like that for me, especially with friendships. Like in my past, today's Get Naked Monday, and we talk about what we've gone through and what we're currently going through. And for me, it's so much easier just to be alone. It really is. It's just so much easier to be alone. Nobody can tell me what to do or what I'm going to eat or any of that stuff.
I get it. Like, definitely is easier. It's like, it's easier, but it's harder in the long run. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a love-hate relationship for me, because I've always wanted to be in a relationship, and for me, like, I know there's gonna be challenges and stuff of that nature. So I don't dread it, but at the same time, I'm still here. I am. I'm still single,
still kicking.
So
yeah. Well,
that's fun.
Just thinking about how I began my relationship with you guys. Well, you first, Brandon. It was kind of strange, because you were this guy, and you're an unusual person in a good way. Like, there are so many qualities about you.
You weirdo. You're an interesting person too.
Thank you, Brandon. But there are so many qualities about you that just stand out from normal people. Like, we just got through before the stream talking about, Brandon, you want to come drink some whiskey and smoke a pipe with us? And he's like, no. And
no, but
we were just pursuing that. And it's like, okay, Brandon just has different standards than a lot of people that I've ever experienced, and I'm really curious why he ticks that way. Because sometimes it's rooted in anxiety, other times it's just rooted in righteousness, and a lot of times I don't know the difference, or my perspective on that is clouded. And so getting to know him was kind of strange, because I'm like, is he just a weirdo, or am I a weirdo? Are either of us weirdos, or are we both weirdos, and will this be a good match? And I remember you used to come into GameStop, and if you know Brandon, if you go in his closet, all of his pants are pressed and folded properly.
That's not correct, but they are hanging, though.
Right? Like, who hangs their pants that way? It's just so freaking organized. And I don't say that making fun of him. I'm just isolating, like, this is a standard that he has for himself, And so he came in, and everything about him seemed pressed. His hair seemed pressed. His cardigan seemed pressed. His hairstyle, like his composure seems, everything about him seemed pressed, And yet he was talking about gaming in a way that was like, wait, you seem like a responsible adult, but you talk like an irresponsible child. Or that's how I mean. Your interests.
Wow.
Are a lot like mine. It's like when the things that interest you and me, like we just got through with the 7-hour Minecraft stream. It's like responsible adults don't do that. So it was this weird dichotomy of adult and childhood things,
Yeah. And
that kind of interests me. And so as we started talking, it's like, well, I kind of want to get to know this guy better. But I was like, is he gonna want to be my friend? Does he have space for that? Is it weird for me to just like reach out and say, hey, you want to get lunch or something? And we talked a couple times before we actually decided to hang out, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of happenstance how that happened. I went to the chiropractor and Brandon was there too getting adjusted.
Yep.
And that same day, I think you were going to ask me to go get lunch, but I beat you to the punch.
You did. You did.
Yeah, and what happened with that? Where did we go? Do you remember?
Chipotle.
Did we?
We went because at the time, I don't know, maybe a year or two prior, I just started to get to know about Chipotle and I loved it, and now I wanted to bring other people into that experience, and so we were looking for, and I don't know if at the time you were trying to decide between Qdoba or Chipotle, and then I kind of won out with Chipotle.
Let us know in chat. Do you prefer Qdoba? If you're a good, righteous Christian person.
Wow!
Or are you a sinner and you like Chipotle?
I had to put that little claimer in there.
Let us know.
Let us know, because if you make the wrong decision, you're going to hell.
Yeah, so Brandon and I forged our relationship through, just, do you want to hang out? Do we have common interests? And then fast forward several years and Eric shows up. And Eric was an interesting person because I remember when he first came, I didn't really like him. I didn't like you when you first came.
Yikes.
I was annoyed because he had this legalistic strain about him, which you've admitted. That's
Yeah, no.
It's not like I didn't like you. It's you had behaviors that were like, oh gosh. Oh gosh.
Cringe. Yeah, no, I look back on myself and I'm like, yikes.
Yeah, and so I remember you came to the small group here. And I was thinking, okay, is he just going to be one of those people that comes and talks about Jesus and argues a little bit about scripture and their interpretation, or is he gonna get vulnerable with people and actually talk about the application of righteousness and sanctification, like what it's like to do life with Jesus? Like, which path is he going to choose? And beyond that, are we going to have a relationship that's not just a mentorship relationship? And then you two started hanging out because Brandon has this proclivity to a specific person for a period of time, and once that relationship is forged, he moves on to another person. That's just one of his strengths.
Kinda.
I guess if that's a strength.
That's called starting a friendship. This is our strength.
It's not like I do that with every person, but yeah, there's certain types of people that for whatever reason just like...
So what is that for you that kind of drives you to do that? So when you first met Eric and you identified this is somebody that I want to whatever glom, I think is the term used for that. What inspired that?
Yeah, what inspired that, Brandon?
Okay.
Was it his scent? Did you imprint on him, Brandon?
No, what? I mean, I specifically remember we were laying on your floor downstairs in the living room,
that paints a really weird picture, Brandon.
You've already painted multiple weird pictures already. Okay,
so let's set the scene. There were a lot of people in this house, and in a circle, everybody was laying on sofas and stuff, just talking, hanging out, and they just happened to be reclining on the floor. They weren't two guys laying on the floor together.
Reclining on the floor. We were literally flat on the floor.
On the floor
Yeah. His head was one direction, my head was in the opposite direction. Well, we're
and they looked over and kissed.
That is not what happened.
It was so romantic.
I mean, how could you turn down a face like this?
He's concerned. Don't be, okay? I'm sorry.
So you looked over and you saw his eyes and that face, and you're like...
Yeah, that's what happened. No, it was... there was a conversation that was being had. I think probably I saw a part of myself in you, I guess. Like, I still don't know exactly. Stop!
This stream is 18 plus.
Oh my god. I walk into a room of never-ending "that's what she said" innuendos, and I cannot find a way to get out of that minefield.
I think your mind's in the gutter, Brandon.
It wasn't. But you are forcing me down in there. Anyway. This is where I have to quit. It's been too good for too long. Stop!
Just give me the shovel, bro. give me the shovel.
Anyways,
let's move on.
If you can wait. I don't know. Anything I'm going to say will be used in law of court. Anyways, so it was just the conversation. The conversation caught my attention, and we were talking about things that I had already worked through, and that was super interesting. And I thought, here's an opportunity where I can make a difference.
Yeah, I was working through legalism with you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I noticed it in my own life, and I was like, probably not good to just do things because I'm obligated to do them and no real heartfelt desire to do these things. And we were talking about that.
Yeah. So I'm curious, because in that group, there were, at any given time, 20 to 30 people that were present. And each one of those people, we'll say, as far as guys, there were more guys than there were girls. So out of that, there were probably 15 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they all had their own problems. Everything, some people dealt with, pornography. Some people dealt with legalism. Some people dealt with just a myriad of things. Out of all the people there, why him?
Well, I mean, so you're going to make me think about this. There's a couple of factors that go into it. For one, with the exception of some of those people like Dan, who I knew, a lot of people in that group, there's a certain degree of vulnerability that Eric just had, of just willing to talk about personal things or whatever that no one else showed. And I think that's the biggest thing is I connect better with people that are willing to talk about what they're going through and take that risk than people that don't and kind of always hold back a portion of their struggles so that they look more perfect, I guess, or whatever.
I think we're all like that to a degree, if we're real about it. I think it's nice to have friends that seem like they have it all together because by association, it's like, I have it all together.
Yeah.
But I think we all want that level of vulnerability because it's relatable.
But at the same time, I didn't know at that moment that you were as interested into video games or things of that nature or anime or whatever.
Yeah, we kind of moved into that as well.
Right. So I didn't start with that. So that to me says it's not necessarily that I connect with people that are into gaming, although that helps. But it was more so just this openness that existed from the start that, and it's I got into a conversation and I could tell that you were listening to what I had to say and what I was saying was making a difference and you had been through things that I had already been through and God had helped me through and I was like, okay, that was the connection for me. And I guess in a similar way, that's how things began with you as well. Because you were open to hearing what I had to say and there's just a lot of people that I've tried that with and there's always some sort of wall that exists, or if there isn't a wall that exists, it's the other end of the spectrum where they're just way too present and it's too much.
So I'm curious because I know we all go through this. When you experience, and this is for you too, when you experience somebody that you hazard that type of connection with and you realize that it's not going to be reciprocated, how do you navigate that? Because today we're talking about starting new relationships, right? There's some level of offering yourself and allowing yourself to be hurt that's required. So when you do that, and you see it's not working or it's falling on deaf ears or infertile soil, whatever, how does it make you feel and what do you do?
Well, I mean, I've always, not to brag or anything, but I'm pretty good at making friends.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a huge problem with finding people who are like me.
Ooh.
Finding people missed there.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I've never had a problem finding people who are have enough interests similar enough to mine that we can meld and striking up conversation about stuff like that. But I find that when I meet someone where it's just like the clicking is not happening, or they're just not super into me. I'm perfectly fine just being like, if you want to stay acquaintance, I'm fine with that. Which it's tougher when you don't have a lot of friends. Like I remember when I was first coming here to Winston-Salem and I didn't know like anyone outside of my family. It's tough at the beginning to really have that vetting process. But I think if you can gain a little bit more confidence like in yourself, that like see that you're genuinely valuable, and you're not the sum of what people think of you. It's never been a huge problem for me meeting someone who's like, you know what, like we're cool being acquaintances, but I don't really want to go further than that. And just accepting that that's okay. Not everyone in your life is in your life to be fast friends for the rest of your life. Some people are in your life for 2 weeks and then you never see them again. And if you kind of keep that perspective, then it's like, okay, maybe this is a 2-week person. Maybe this is a rest of my life person. Maybe this is someone who's in between. And so when I face that rejection, like it's not like, oh no, now I'm hated by everyone and life sucks. It's like, okay, maybe this person just, we're just not meant to be friends, and that's perfectly okay.
You said something kind of interesting, talking about the vetting process. So in our group, I remember when you transitioned from Agape to Awake, it was almost like going from a dry place to a wet place, because back then we had a ton of people that were all in the same season and everybody was so inclusive, and it just seemed like a huge pool of friends, which is something I'd never had before and which was new to you at the time as well, in that season specifically. And I'm just wondering, like, before I met that group, was it easier or harder for me to engage in potential relationships? Or once there were so many people and I had a lot of, opportunities or whatever, was it harder? Like, do you guys feel like when there's so many people to fill your time and it's just hard to choose, do you feel like that's more difficult to navigate? Or the potential of having friendships when there's not a community, but there's so many people, so many communities that you could choose to be a part of?
I mean, it's just its own kind of challenge, and I've now had to navigate both of those and have a better perspective. But like, I started off from a desert and made my way into a jungle, essentially. like that's how I kind of began. It's like very few friends up until college. Then that began to change in college. By the time I got to the potluck group and everything in Awake, I was already beginning to transition out of a desert. I was kind of like in a savanna and made my way into a jungle. It was equally wild. But, it's when you had fewer friends, then I had to navigate giving those friends space. And finding other activities to do, so I wasn't just glomming onto them. When I had so many friends, then I had to learn. The new thing I learned, I really didn't learn until 2020, was who gets my time, because not everyone can. Not everyone. Yeah.
That's a tough one.
That's a big one, because man, when I had a deficiency in relationships, I was pining after any relationship I could get, not just like romantic, but just friendship wise. It's like, oh, we exchange numbers. Okay, like you've agreed to give me your man. We're best friends now. And let me keep track. Hey, what are you doing Wednesday? What are you doing Friday? What are you doing this day? Let's hang. Oh wait, why are they not responding? Oh, I must not be a good person. Oh gosh, what's wrong with me? Because I'm 0 for 1. And that 0 for 1 kept me in a pit of not seeking relationship for months at a time.
Yeah, it took me until 2020 to realize that I was not omnipresent.
Yeah.
Which you think is something I should know, as I've never experienced a moment of being omnipresent ever. But I didn't know that like I couldn't give everyone amount of time in such a way that was satisfactory. And I was giving a lot of people time that took more than they gave. And there's nothing wrong with giving to people that are taking more than giving, but if you have so much energy and so many good friends that are close, you can't give those close friends the time that they deserve if you're only spending equal portions of time with people that are just taking, because before you know it, you're only going to be surrounded by people that are just taking.
And that's rough. That's a rough spot to be in, is like just everyone needs something from you, and it's like, hey, I only got so much to give.
Mm-hmm. And you feel like a turd when you say no to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Setting
sure,
boundaries.
I'm a Christian and I'm supposed to be spreading Christ's love all over the world, but like, I don't have time for you right now. Time for you is beyond Jesus' capacity to fill me.
Well, worse yet, it's not a matter of you don't have the time, at least not for me. It's more of a matter of I don't have the energy for it. I do have the time. I don't want to fill that time with you. And that's the problem, because it's like, I know that spending time with you is going to require me to give you a part of myself I don't have enough of to give out.
And Brandon, with that too, I think communicating that to somebody takes a really healthy perspective of like your own value, because I have very sincere friends in my life that I see once every several months, or even communicate. And when I communicate to them, hey, like, you mean something really important to me, and I want to continue this relationship, but I just don't have space for you right now. I don't do that thinking, oh, well, I just need to cut this out because I don't have time for it. I just acknowledge, well, this still has high value in my life, but I only have this much resource, and so it's okay for me to communicate that. So a lot of my friends, like there's somebody that both Ariane and I connected with recently that we want to be friends with, and we've wanted to for a while. But we just acknowledge that our lives are just so busy. And so in communicating with this person, I said, hey, we want to be friends, but we can't maintain things on a weekly or monthly basis. And that was their apprehension as well. But we communicated, just like we're talking about in our thought raids every Thursday, which I think this coming Thursday is the one that's going to be debuted that talks about that. We communicated, hey, we want to be friends, but our capacity is once every month or two. And, we don't think anything of you if you don't communicate and say, hey, you want to have food. Like, if you don't do that, it's not like we value our relationship with you any less. We just acknowledge that's how it is. And both sides, since it was communicated, agreed. And it's like, okay, well, I don't feel as bad now if 3 months down the road we randomly say, hey, you want to get lunch? It's just, it's an understanding.
People understand that you're busy, especially like if you're married, or like if they have kids too. I mean, if someone's married with kids, like they got nothing, they got no time, they got no energy. And so it's tough to try to navigate relationships when you have all that. Like for me, like I got all the time in the world. Like, yes, I'm in school and I'm working, and like I got that kind of filling up my schedule, but after school, after work, like I don't have all that much, clinging to my schedule. Like, it's not like I have this baby thing that I have to, take care of constantly for the next 18 years. And so like people, and especially as you get older, you understand it's like you only got so many hours in a day, so many days in a week to get stuff done. And like I like what you said about communicating that to people, because I think it's something like proper communication is not taught in school or growing up. At least, not for me. Like that kind of just raw openness of like just telling people this is how it is, and I really like that.
I think that's a skill that you have to be very intentional about.
And a risk that you have to
take.
And
risking, yeah, because some people, man, there are a couple people that I can think of where I've communicated that, and they're like, what do you mean? I deserve that place in your life. And it's like, whoa, actually, you don't. And the fact that you think that you do means that I need to put another boundary in place.
Yeah.
And it's like, you'll start identifying how people respect you and your time when you set those boundaries and you say, hey, here's what I can actually give you. It's not like I don't think you're, it's not that I think you're not worth the relationship. It's just, I don't have any more currency to spend on you right now. And I really appreciate those people that acknowledge that and they say, okay, yeah, cool, absolutely. And just meet me where I'm at with that. Because maybe there will come a time when my schedule is a lot more free. Just like with you and I had a solid, like talking every day, texting all the time relationship for a year or so. Like, there were times where you would just message me at 4 a.m. in the morning something that I needed to hear, like the whole Holy Spirit help thing. And then once, I want to say it was like a year into our friendship, you transitioned to other friendships where similar things happened. But, like, the depth of our friendship didn't change. It's just the expectation of how you're spending your time currency did.
And we went into a season of time. From that point forward, we went into a long season where I would see you at the groups, and then if after that, maybe like every so once in a while, and that always sad to me. Was like, I want to spend more time with you, but it just never seems to work out. And now I see you so frequently.
Too much. Well, also, I feel like our relationship has developed to a point where, like, we start to annoy each other. You know what I mean? Because you get to a point with some people. So initially, you're looking for the good stuff. And a lot of times, if you're seeking a relationship with somebody, you only look at the good stuff and not as much about the bad stuff. Then you get to this probationary honeymoon phase where it's like, okay, I like this person, and I can see they're starting to accept me for who I am. And then, like, as things mature a little bit and things begin to ripen, you start thinking, okay, well, I feel comfortable with this person. And then it's like, I feel comfortable enough to get annoyed with them. Like, Brandon, you're doing that thing again. Just stop. Or you start farting in front of each other. And it's like, you annoy me a lot, but at the same time, it's things about you where it's like, I acknowledge that I have the freedom to have conflict with you about it because the value of our relationship is such that, well, that's what it requires for it to get to the next level, and like similar things like you and me, we're not at that level yet. I don't know if it ever will be, Eric.
That's up to you, man.
But like, the things that we communicate about are not the same type of things that I would communicate with another person, So the idea of starting new relationships. Let's transition to romantic relationships.
Oh, those are even more fun.
Yeah, because like I think early on, and I'll speak about this from my perspective. I don't know how soon into my relationship with my at the time girlfriend, now wife, I started doing this, but like there was one point where we were talking about farting in front of each other, and I was like, that's just no. If you're one of those couples and you still haven't broken that veil of righteousness or whatever you want to call it,
just fart in front of her, bro. Come on, what's the worst that could happen?
So I remember one day I was hugging Ariane and she was trying to get. I just wouldn't let her free. I'm like, we're gonna establish this as we're gonna move on from this.
Establishing dominance.
But it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, so we're starting this new relationship. This is just something that I want to feel comfortable. So I had to test that. And, there's different things too. Like I remember when we first started texting with each other, I would go through my texts. I want to make sure that everything that started a sentence was capitalized. Every sentence had proper punctuation.
Got that MLA format.
All my references were cited, you know what I mean? And it's like, now if I mess up, I'm like, well, she'll get over it. with you guys too, but with new relationships, I sit there and I'm like, okay, hey Ariane, do I sound too pushy? Like, what do you think of, like, recently we had dinner with some people and the food I made was like, and I felt bad about it, and I was gonna start, I was like, okay, I need to text them, hey, it's good to see you guys, sorry the food sucked, and she's like, don't do that, you're trying too hard, and I was like, you're right. It's like, if I made food that was bad and I had Brandon eat it, it's like, he'll get over it.
Yeah, I'll live.
He's not going anywhere,
I've repeatedly eaten your ramen, which has made me really have to go to the bathroom.
Bro, your ramen's literally the best.
It is, but it also simultaneously makes me want to crap really hard.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but like that initial, okay, so how are you going to perceive me, especially romantically? That's super scary, and like that's a recent thing for you. Like you recently entered into a relationship, and I don't want to go too far into it out of respect for her. Yeah. But like, what was that like for you? Because I know at the start of the year, thanks Heidi. At the start of the year, you made a resolution saying, I really want to be in a relationship before Valentine's Day, and you were kind of
boom.
Right. So what was that process like? Did you think, okay, well, there's this girl I like, and I'm gonna freaking make this happen if I have to beat her over the head with a club and like take her back to my cave?
I mean, that's what I did. But No, honestly, the whole process was like, it was more organic than I thought it would be.
Mm.
'Cause, like reaching out, you want to go get dinner, just start things off pretty chill, just like,
How many times did you redo the text? Or did you ask her in person?
I did. I asked her in Messenger, actually. Facebook Messenger. I just typed it out and sent it. Well, I mean, so it was kind of just like, she a friend requested me. I added her, and I saw that she had like this pet goose. And I was like, yo, that's kind of freaking awesome. Like, whoa. Wicked.
So it's like an actual pet?
Yeah. Like just a straight up
Does it have a name?
Aspen. It's an adorable goose.
That's so cool.
Yeah, literally.
Now, is she raising it to eat it, or what?
Yeah. She's waiting for the golden egg, I think.
The golden egg?
The golden egg from the goose. Okay.
Oh, which is never going to happen. So she's not going to kill it.
No.
I'm so confused right now. Is she going to eat it or not?
No.
Okay.
It's a pet. Yeah, like, are you going to eat Magoo when he hits the...
Well, this is not Asia, Eric.
You're Asian. Yeah, I brought it there. What are you gonna do? So anyways, since we're gonna not be racist, evidently. So I mean, I was like legitimately interested in that, So like that's how I started the conversation of just like, and I think that was a really easy segue. Like, it's not always, like, that was literally silver platter, like, right in front of my face, easy way to start a conversation. Like, not everyone has that.
Yeah.
It was so silver platter, my God.
Yeah, like, not, like, some people, like, they meet their girlfriend, like, at a bar or in, like, a group or something, and it's like they have to come up with something to say, like, what interesting thing do I have to say to get this girl to actually pay attention to me?
Practice pickup lines.
Practice pickup lines. We got some good pickup lines. No, but, like, and conversation just naturally flowed from that, like, I didn't have to force anything, it was just kind of just genuinely curious about this woman who has a goose.
Yeah, now, I'm curious about this too, because there are a lot of guys out there. I mean, we have one at the table that, well, it's like,
yes.
I was there at one point too where I really wanted a relationship, and it seemed like the more I pursued it, the least successful I was.
Yeah.
And here was this guy, freaking start of 2022. My New Year's resolution is I want a relationship between now and Valentine's Day, and it happened. But was it an accident? Was it Providence? Like, what the heck, man?
I want to say it's Providence.
Yeah.
Because like I set the goal, and like then she friend requested me like a few days later.
So, girlfriend, if you're watching, he's saying that you were Providence.
Yeah. So it's like, then she friend requested me. I talked to her. We went on a few dates, and we're taking things slow. Because and that's the thing is like our like relationship is like we're taking things real slow, and we're taking things like no strings attached. Like, do we get along?
Y'all doing Dutch?
What?
Dutch, where like you piggyback, like who pays for whatever.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Somewhat. But I think like a lot of times people really want to rush relationships and be like, hey, we've been on 3 dates, we're together, we're girlfriend, boyfriend, and then they parade that everywhere, which that's not really what we're doing. We're going on dates, we're hanging out, we're seeing how we click, but we're not parading the whole like girlfriend, boyfriend, like that whole thing. We're just taking it slow, not putting any like restrictions or strings attached.
So on this, talking about relationships, like I know that when we have friendships, it's not like Brandon and I were exclusive. Like, Brandon, if you're my friend, you can't have other friends. But I know that a lot of people, especially when you start a new romantic relationship, some people are okay and they have this expectation that you're not going to be exclusive. Because you said no strings attached, and that's where my mind went. But it's like, when I was in that space and just thinking somebody that I would potentially date would be in a relationship with me that was not exclusive and they could be talking to multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys like think that's healthy or right? Or do you think, hey, I'm talking to this person, so I need to limit it to just this person?
Here's kind of my thinking on that, is that like that whole idea of like if it's meant to be, it'll be type of idea, where it's like, if this is the person for me, you know, if this is the person that God like put in my path, then that's gonna be that. Then like, I mean, I'm not really looking for anyone else or anything like that, but I'm not like uncomfortable with the idea of if she was like, you know, talking to other people just because of like where we're at and taking things slowly and whatnot. Like I think just because of the nature of where we're at right now in taking things slow, like it wouldn't kill me, because like if we're meant to be together, we will. And so like there's that insecurity, the creeping insecurity, like, whoa, what if she leaves me for another
or if
guy?
she just like leaves you on red, or what if she stops texting, or
and that, there's that gut fear. But I think when you look past that fear and be like, no, if this thing is meant to be, like if we genuinely like fit together, then we're gonna fit together. It doesn't matter if other people are around and we're talking to other people, but like if we're meant to be together, obviously I think at a certain point you got to establish that it's like, okay, we're together, like together, no being with other people in that kind of way. Like I understand that, but I guess just because of where we're at right now, it doesn't like stress me out or anything, and it's I think it's healthy, like where we're at right now.
I think what you're talking about is so good, because we have a guys group that meets every Friday, and this past Friday we talked about being intentional in a relationship and also learning when to surrender. And I think it's really tough, especially in today's time, to where people are just searching for identity and not affirmation. What's the word I'm looking for? When something makes you feel whole, starts with an A.
Something makes you feel whole that starts with an A.
Yeah.
Okay. Accomplished?
Anyway, I don't know. Affirmed, I guess, is the best way to put it. It's like we're looking for affirmation in all these different sources, and it's like when we don't get it, like I just need to keep pushing. But at a certain point, you just have to realize, okay, this person is not putting in as much effort as I want. And we have a video coming up on the third Thursday of this month talking about the relationship between intimacy and commitment. And it's like, okay, well, I'm willing to commit myself to this person to gain this level of intimacy. Why are they not willing to commit? Like, do I just need to be more patient, or do I just need to acknowledge they're never going to commit to this level? And at that point, when you acknowledge that, it's like, what's preventing me from surrendering and saying, you know what, I'm not going to force you into this. I'm going to let you be you and figure things out and choose me. Because in friendships, like, I'm so thankful, Brandon, that in our friendship, you kept choosing me in those spaces where I would back off and stop forcing the issue. It's like, I'm not going to text Brandon for a few days and see what happens. And then you would text me, hey, bro, haven't heard from you in a couple days. Hope you're doing okay. It's like, oh, cool. Finally, somebody that is pursuing me just as much as I'm pursuing them.
Yeah.
Interesting that you did that to me. I
mean, it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, like there's that kind of power in letting the person come to you, rather than always, like obviously there is the pursuit factor of like, hey, I really like you, I want to spend time with you, I'm going to buy you nice stuff or whatever. Like there's that aspect of a relationship, but there's also, especially for guys, because guys the men are the initiators of the relationship. We're the one that's supposed to ask her out. We're the ones that are supposed to,
Now don't be misogynistic.
I'm going to be misogynistic because men are better.
Oh! Wait.
No, but like the man.
He's kidding. I think.
Am I?
Lest.
Oh
no, like men are expected. They're the ones.
There's a cultural expectation.
Yeah, cultural and like expectation that we're the ones that ask her out. We're the ones that buy her the dinner.
And
we're
maybe
the ones
even more than that. There's like this is a little bit sorry, and I may detract you entirely, but just thinking about Japan and what I've been researching about it, there is this expectation that the woman is supposed to pursue the man in Japan, but like a lot of women are just kind of done with that, and it seems like
it goes backwards.
it has been like there's and I think the people that have been watching been saying it's a byproduct of some of their culture or like anime or things of that nature, the strong silent type, and like they think this is the way it's supposed to be, but it's not working.
Yeah.
And so it's like I wonder if it's not just cultural. I wonder if it's baked into just.
Oh, I think it's baked into who we are, like the masculine versus the feminine. Like,
right.
So, what about in gay relationships? Which guy is supposed to buy the dinner?
I don't know.
Okay, let's move on. So anyways.
So it's kind of built into us as like we're the ones that are like go get the wife. You know, that's kind of built into us since we're born and the culture that we grow up in. But and I think there's merits to that. It's good that a man goes out and like pursues a wife. Like that's a good thing.
I mean, biblically it says, a man who finds a wife finds a good thing.
Yeah, it absolutely. But I think sometimes you can lose the whole, let her come to me kind of idea. Because I mean, Jesus is like that with us. So much of my life has been me like frantically looking for other things other than Jesus to fulfill me and to
fulfill. That's the word I was looking for. It doesn't start with an A, but that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I would have never guessed with that lead on.
It's kind of close to an A.
I mean,
if you just flip it down and flip that guy up, that's an A.
Thank you.
I got you. Yeah. So like with Jesus, he's like, I love you. Here's the love. You can come take it whenever you want. And we don't a lot, and sometimes we do. And if you kind of view that in pursuing a relationship, it's like, yes, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy her dinner, and yes, I'm going to go out and I'm going to compliment her, and I'm going to do all these things to make her feel like she's valuable. But at a certain point, you have to kind of step back and say, okay, I've given you a part of me. Like,
when are you going to bear my children?
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on. Don't got all day. That's so bad. I hate that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm kidding, guys.
He's not. At a certain point, you got to be like, okay, like, do you want me? Like, so I'm just going to stand here.
So how do you navigate that? So this girl that you're pursuing right now, how are you going to deal if she says,
not really.
I don't want you?
I'm going to be like, okay, we can be friends. That's if she, like, if I show myself and I'm like, okay, this is who I am, and I appreciate you and I like you a lot, and I want to spend more time with you, and she's legitimately like, okay, like, but I don't want to spend time with you, then part of being a man is just taking the L, like, you just take the L. Just be like, okay, she doesn't want to spend time with me. She doesn't have to. I'm not going to force her to spend time with me. She doesn't have to want me as a husband or anything like that.
I think that's such a good postured position to have, just realizing that you're only ever supposed to initially put in 50%, the other person's supposed to put in 50%. It's like you're joining together, and especially in marriage, it's like if you enter into a marriage with somebody and the expectation is you're going to give 90% and they're going to give 10%, it's like, ooh, well, like, what are you establishing? And if you have friendships that are that same way, it's like, Brandon, I'm doing all the work here. What are you doing, man? Or Tim, like, you haven't done anything for 3 weeks. What the heck? And we're supposed to be business partners. There's a level of accountability when you have that commitment. It's like, hey, I need some more intimacy here. Like, where is this?
And I think, like, kind of bragging a little bit, like, I did not expect to have this kind of open of a posture. Because like anytime I thought about relationships, it just stressed me out. I was like, I want a girlfriend so bad. I want a wife real bad.
What is it that you wanted about that? Just like the status, or
I think it's like a mixture of the status, the being appreciated, the being like looked up to, and maybe sought after. To have somebody who genuinely sees you as valuable and is like, oh wow, I want to spend my life with that person. There's. And not in a friendship way, It's different when it's a woman.
How?
I think because it's like,
I'm just kidding.
I can't have sex with you, Tim. Like, that's just it.
I mean, that's not entirely true.
Not entirely.
That would definitely cross boundaries.
Yeah, there's a few boundaries. I mean, I can talk to Ariane if you want.
What? Once again, guys, we're kidding.
Yeah, but it's like, there's like the whole romantic and sexual aspect to relationships that like aren't there with friendships.
Also with that, I think especially in today's society, when a person says, "Hey, I want to enter," I legitimately want a romantic relationship because I want to have sex, and thinking about, okay, well, just from a healthy perspective, I want the level of commitment that would necessitate or qualify me for sex, not just a one night stand, something where it's like I've done the work.
Yeah.
I want for lack of better terms, I want the payout. Like, I've done the work, I want the reward. And committing to somebody, especially like saying, I'm going to commit myself to you in marriage, it's like, okay, well, this is going to be the rest of my life. And it's like rewarded with a sexual relationship, I think that's been perverted in our society. And so thinking, okay, I'm just going to swipe right on Tinder. I want a relationship. I want to cheapen the talking about starting new relationships. I want a relationship, but I don't want to put in the work. So let me just swipe. Hey, how about you? Okay, let me have you tonight and you tonight and you tonight. It's like I'm starting all these new relationships, but I still don't feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And yet going into a romantic relationship saying my goal is to get married and have sex one day, not being the only goal, it's like, you're a pig. What do you mean? You just want sex out of this relationship. It's almost like pursuing a relationship and doing the commitment to, and saying, hey, this is a goal of mine. It's almost like that's worse in our society than just saying, hey, I just want a one night stand, no commitment. At least that's what I've seen. You guys might feel differently.
I hadn't really thought about it like that. But yeah, there's merit to what you're talking about. Paul literally says, St. Paul literally says, like, look, if you're horny, just get married. Like, if you're super horny, you can't keep it.
I love how he worded it too. If your loins burn with passion.
You're burning with passion.
But does he say loins? I know it says you burn with passion. But
I think loins was a different verse.
Loins.
Yeah.
Your loins.
But like, there's something to that, and I think that says something about marriage in that it's very adaptable and very like, you don't have to have everything figured out going into it. Because I think, as Christians, we focus a lot on, like, are we godly dating? Are we, building that relationship so that, the marriage is right? Which, yes, that's a good thing, and premarital counseling and all that is a good thing. But, like, within the confines of marriage, within that covenant that you make with somebody, like, you're not at all the same person when you start your marriage versus 10 years into marriage versus 20 years into the marriage, and so maybe in some cases we're kind of overcautious with marriage, which I understand, because just throwing yourself into a marriage that you're not ready for, 50% divorce rate is because of stuff like that. But also maybe if we framed marriage around growing together rather than like having everything in common and always making each other happy and whatnot, like if you can kind of frame it around, we're living life together and we're going to take life as it comes, and have that kind of view with marriage, then you can you can work together, even though starting off the marriage you kind of know each other, and 10 years in you know each other a lot better if you're doing things right, if you're communicating. But there's a lot of adaptability in marriage in getting closer to each other, because I don't think St. Paul, the guy who was like, I beat my body into submission so that it does what God says, not what fleshly Paul wants to do. Like, I don't think that a guy like that, led by the Holy Spirit, would just flippantly be like, oh, hey, if you want to have sex, go get married. I think there's kind of an understanding of, like, being able to work things out when you're married. Which, I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. I mean, whenever I officiate weddings, like, there's all this stuff. Like, if you look at wedding vows and the ceremony and stuff, there's so much talk about love. And like it's a magical ingredient to a relationship. But it's like, love is a choice, and I'm thinking about arranged marriages. And we watched a show on Netflix. We watch a lot of, like, relational drama reality stuff on Netflix, like Love is Blind and Married at First Sight and whatnot. It's like we're watching Love is Blind right now, where people talk in these things called the pods, and they have a relationship, and if they like each other, they ask each other to marry one another, and it's like they commit to getting married before they see the other person, and then they live together for, I think, like a month after that, and then they get married, and that's the goal of the show. And it's like very dramatic, but it's like when you commit yourself to somebody, are you going to follow through on that commitment? Like with my relationship with Brandon, my friendship, it's like I've committed to not only being a friend but a business partner. I've committed to doing things like this podcast. I've committed to groups with Brandon, and we have people that we talk to as far as like ministry. It's like I've committed to helping, partnership wise, him with that. And it's like I could very easily just say, I don't want to do my part, but I've already committed to doing it, And with my wife, there's so many things I've committed to because we have rings now that say, well, I've said that I'm choosing love. And, it all came from starting a new relationship that did not previously exist. Like 10 years ago, I didn't know her. Now she's the number one spot in my life right below Jesus, unless I make her an idol, which I do sometimes. I do that with friendships too, but
It's not hard.
it's not. But just thinking about the commitment level and it being a choice, and that's what's so weird, because there's this value proposition that we have to people, especially when we don't know them, where it's like, do they want to pay the price for my goods? It's weird when you say it that way, but seriously, it's like,
Yes.
There's some people that I know where it's like, am I cool enough to hang out with them? Am I quiet enough to hang out with them? Am I sporty enough to hang out with them? Do the variables of my life align for them to spend
Feels like
their
high school
currency?
almost,
Kinda, but it's like looking for a card. Am I looking for something that seats 8 people, or am I looking for something that goes fast? Different people are looking for different things, and I think kind of like what you've been experiencing with relationships and trying to figure that out, especially the online dating thing. It's like, at face value, somebody looks at your profile and they equate, okay, how many boxes does this guy check off? Or you looking at them. And like you starting new relationships there has been kind of an interesting secondhand experience for me, like hearing you talk about it.
Living vicariously through me.
Yeah, so for you, Brandon, starting those types of relationships where it's based off of, okay, this person's already evaluated me to a degree, instead of being face to face and having that. Communication is 90% physical, and you don't have that with those relationships. So how do you navigate starting that new stuff?
That's something that is evolved over the years, and I don't really have a good answer because I don't have a success story yet. But what I have been doing, like I've come a long way since I've done the dating stuff, like on an app or whatever. Like it was a lot more cringe, so much more cringe than it is now. Now the way I navigate it is if we match because we both like each other for how the system works, I begin just asking them basic questions about their life and then try to move towards the meeting up in person. But I have not gotten to that place yet with anyone, so I don't know if that's working or not. I couldn't tell you. So, I don't know. And at the same time, in my circles and stuff, I haven't really met anyone yet in person since before that last relationship. But I will say, the thing I've been thinking about this whole time, and the reason why I can't necessarily shake that a relationship is providence, is something that God has ordained, if you are submitted to Him, is that, when that relationship did come into my life, I wasn't looking for her. And it wasn't a struggle to start talking to her about stuff, and things just kind of slid together. And it hasn't been like that since that point, which has been the hardest thing that I've experienced since that point. But it's did I just miss it? Did I blow this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? And I know that God said I haven't, but it feels like it, kind of thing, and I'm just what, is it me? I don't know, but at the same time, wow. At the same time, that I didn't force the situation to happen, it just did. Yeah. And there was, a whole bunch of things, the communication issues we had since that point, but either way, I didn't, and in the same way with what you just went through, you didn't force that situation to happen either. So it feels like when it does happen, when I do, and thinking about all the friendships that I did connect with, I didn't force my friendship with you. I didn't force my friendship with you or Dan or the other people in my life that are close to me.
Mm-hmm. Serendipity.
Yeah, and I wasn't going out necessarily looking for you. You just came into my life, and there you were, and...
Brandon, and that's such a good point, man, because my what I do for a living and what I espouse that I do for a living is relationship coaching, specifically because all relationships in life should be based on Jesus, because he's perfect love. And it's like, I want to be loved perfectly, much like I want to aspire to love people perfectly. And I only have one true standard for that. Every other standard out there is like a website or a magazine or a group of people, especially a church that thinks they have it right, especially if they follow religion. It's like, it's all shifting sand. But, just thinking that, okay, if I follow Jesus, I'm going to find somebody who's going to the same place as me. It's like if I'm going to the beach and I pick up somebody who's got a coat on, they don't want to go to the beach with me because they're headed to the mountains. And it's like trying to make that work is going to cause some friction somewhere because somebody's not giving up what they need to, or everybody's compromising in a way that's not healthy. But like the whole idea of finding relationships on serendipity, man, like I found my wife just following Jesus, like doing my best to say yes to where he's having me go, and she just happened to be going to the same place, you know? And I'm just thinking, like, is it worth being super intentional about, I just want to find a relationship, or is it more important just to have your eyes open and your heart position open to accepting whatever comes along your way?
Tim, I don't know, because anything that has worked in my life usually has been something that just walked in, and yeah, the effort is there, but the effort is more so just keeping up with the person, not actually trying to find them in the first place. It just happened. It's just I can't. All I can say is it just happened. And anytime that I have tried to make something happen, it hasn't, or it was super toxic. So it seems to be like, but I've heard plenty of people all the time talking about, like, you just need to put yourself out there, you do this, you do that.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Just gotta put yourself out there.
I've done that.
Just like shake your body.
Greeting.
Did anybody want this?
Want this.
Just have a shirt. Who wants this?
Yeah. But it hasn't. Nothing has become of it. So it seems to be, from my personal life experience, that anytime I try to make something happen, it doesn't. And every time I stop trying to make things happen and just work with what I do have that is working, then something usually shows up.
Just thinking about the streaming stuff that we do. One of the viewers, I don't know if you're still watching Deathbane. And you're welcome, Heidi. Apparently there's confirmation there somewhere. So you're welcome.
We got you.
But Deathbane, if you're still watching, Deathbane... okay, so not this past June, but the June prior was the June after I left my job at GameStop, and I decided to start a life coaching business. And so I was like, okay, well, I like video games, and I like helping people understand, like, Jesus and love and stuff, so I'm going to marry the two. So I started streaming on Twitch. And I played League of Legends, and there was a girl that became a follower named Stars Light. And they had this community, and they invited their friends to play with it. I think we played a game of League of Legends together, like engaging with the community. Or maybe she like shared the stream to this person, and she did that. What's it when all your Twitch followers or whatever invade another channel?
Raid.
Twitch raid. Maybe that happened. I don't remember. But Deathbane started watching the stream, and we became friends. I don't know, back then we weren't friends, we were more acquaintances. Like I knew who he was. And I don't talk to Stars Light at all because I don't do Twitch anymore. But Deathbane has kind of stuck around, and now he's part of thoughtraid, and he plays Overwatch with us and engages with us on the streams. And it's like, how the heck did that happen? Because that was 2 years ago, randomly on Twitch, and then basically this random person found me on Twitch, and they randomly had this friend who had a proclivity towards something that I or thoughtraid offered. Somehow, like there was a need that was being filled, and now they just happen to hang out with us. It's like, I didn't force that, but I definitely did put myself in a place where something like that could happen.
It's weird because this, like, what we're talking about is so gratingly against, like, the American way of thinking. Because at least, like, from what I've noticed is people, like, in the American system, and like capitalism and all that, it's just like you gotta go out and you get the bag, That's what you gotta do. You gotta put yourself out there. You have to work super hard. You gotta put in the hours. You need to, read lots of books. You need to do all this stuff to get to the pinnacle of your field so that you can be the best, so that you can bring in the most. And like what we're talking about is literally the opposite. Is literally like I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going in life, and I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm gonna focus on God. Obviously, those are important things, but I'm just gonna, I'm gonna let God bring that person to me.
Mm-hmm.
You can do dating apps, and you can go out to bars and whatever stuff, community groups that you need to do. Like, you can do that, but like what we're talking about here is just like, I'm just gonna let God do this thing, because if I go out and I meet a woman and do all of that because of my own intelligence, my own wisdom, my own, my own game, all of that stuff, it's like, yeah, that's good, and you can do that, and that's cool. But if it's not the person that God wants for you, it's like getting a job that pays well but sucks. It's like, yeah, this is great because I'm making lots of money, but I hate my life right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you kind of view relationships that way, it's like, I want my relationship to be good. I want to deeply and madly fall in love with this person,
Mm-hmm.
not just like, ooh, she's real hot and I bagged her. How about that? Because then it's just like, congratulations, are you happy in your relationship?
Well, if we just get married, I can mold her into a good wife. Or maybe if I could just, and this is the woman speaking, maybe if I just get that guy, he's got the bones, but maybe I can turn him into a Christian, help him become a good person. It's like, the whole idea of missionary dating is really toxic.
Awful.
You gotta be careful of that. But
so basically, if you're a Christian and they're not, don't. Just don't. Okay.
You know what? That actually applies on a leadership level I'm learning now, too.
What's that?
About if they're not a Christian, don't.
Okay, so
yeah, you are my man.
I want to clarify, guys, what we mean by that. Not like if they're religious, don't, because there's a difference between being a Christian and being religious, and actually having a relationship with Jesus that is incorporated into your life. Because you can be a Christian on Facebook status and not have Jesus applying to your life,
mm-hmm.
and then you can be a follower of the way, as it's called in the Bible, and not espouse yourself as a religious Christian. I mean, that's kind of what we are. It's like I think we're not very religious, but it's like we're engaging in the messiness of allowing God to sanctify us and getting naked about it, so that other people can learn from our testimony, and that's what life is all about. But Proverbs 16, in closing, I want to leave you guys with this. Proverbs 16 is something that, gosh, man, it's like if you think about your life being a house and it's built on a foundation, one of the significant cornerstones of my life foundation is the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. In my 20s, I tried to establish my own steps because I was like, okay, if I don't do this, nobody will. Sure, there's a God, but God's only there to make me money. That's what I thought, really, to a degree, But the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. So it's like, Eric, I want to be in a relationship by February 14th. I don't really know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to pursue Jesus, trusting that God knows where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord establishes his steps.
And like, if I hadn't met anyone, like if I hadn't met someone cool and gone on a bunch of dates, then at that point I would have been like, okay, well, if it's not God's will for me to have someone by February 14th, then it's not God's will. If it is, it is.
Mm-hmm.
I can make the plans, and sometimes God's plans and our plans are, they're together and succinct. Sometimes they're not, and it's okay either way. There's grace for that either way. Because if they're one and the same plan, then cool, great. Me and God are in sync on this. If they're not the same plan, then it just gives me an opportunity to sync myself up with Him, which is that's always where you want to be. Your kingdom come, Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, and that's the goal. That's the whole goal of the Christian life is His kingdom come, His will be done. I'm going to love Him first. So it's like. And that gives you a lot of flexibility with life, because it's like, even if you make wrong decisions and even if you fail, that's okay. There's second chances.
Mm-hmm.
God is a God of a million chances.
He's a God of redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the cool part. God can redeem anything. So if you're in a relationship where you realize, hey, I've kind of forced this and it's toxic, surrendering that can be redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm just kind of learning about the importance on like making sure that you're equally yoked, but realizing that it's not just a relationship thing. I mean, it's a relationship not just in like your traditional romantic relationship, but in other places too. Like I never thought of leadership also being something about requiring equally yoking in that place. I never thought about that, and that's like been the most humbling thing I'm going through right now. I'm just going through that and wishing that I had thought about that sooner, and just the depths of where that scripture verse can be applied. But like, and I guess I can see it now, because our partnership in thoughtraid is a relationship in and of itself, and so now I'm connecting things. I'm having personal revelation over here. It's been a wild ride for me.
I'm glad this is cathartic for you.
It is. It continues to be cathartic for me. Part of thoughtraid is welcome to Brandon fixing himself with Christ helping him and putting the pieces where they need to be. Anyways, but yeah, no, that's important, and it seems like you can't force these relationships to happen. And then the ones you do just don't seem to really work out well. The best relationships I've had are ones I didn't really try to find, and they just kind of came into my life, and despite the mistakes I've made, they have still been there the whole time. We have been through our fair share of things. We have been through our fair share of things, and there are other people that have been through our fair share of things, and if they're the right people, that doesn't change the relationship. You can be imperfect, and they can still be there as you continue to work on yourself through Christ. So that's interesting, and that applies even up to other things besides just regular relationships, into business relationships too. And that's interesting. It's so in depth, and I'm gonna stop with that.
Yeah. So guys, this Thursday, we have a video that's going to come out that talks about the missing ingredient in your relationship. So if you have a relationship and it's unhealthy, this video is going to talk about what's missing. If you're aspiring towards a relationship and you want it to be healthy, you got to make sure that it has this thing. I'm not going to tell you what it is, because I'm trying to bait you into liking and subscribing to the stream. So if you haven't done so,
and hitting the bell notification,
yes, hit the red button, subscribe to our channel if you want to. Well, join us on our gaming streams. This Friday we're playing Doki Doki Literature Club. It's a dating simulation that might have a horrifying ending. Saturday, you're welcome to join us in building a relationship as we play Minecraft together. Come play with us. We're having this big hardcore survival thing that we're doing. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, when you subscribe, hit the bell that's right beside it. That way when we go live, you'll get a notification that says, hey, they're live. And that way you don't have to go searching for it.
Yeah. I feel like the way that you said that was all melded together, so I want to take it and make sure that each part is clear. Thursday we have a video coming out. It's going to be no more than 15 minutes. If you like what we talk about, but you want to watch something short and easy, that's for you. Friday we're playing Doki Doki Literature Club. I cringe just thinking about that, but we already did one, and we're doing it again, and we're going to go all the way through it.
Having Brandon voice the main character with me, Jared, and our buddy Cody as the love interests was really strange.
It was very strange, and it's going to happen again.
Brandon, you've got big, strong arms. Or actually, Brandon's name is Senpai. It's even more cringe.
Yikes.
Well, at least it's better than you saying that to me as a girl with my actual name. I feel like that'd be even harder. So I can put up with that. Anyways, so we're doing that on Friday, and then we're continuing to do a competition on Minecraft. If you enjoy Minecraft and you enjoy modded Minecraft and you like to have a difficult experience with like some mods to make it a lot harder, and you want to join us on that, that's going to be Saturday, and we're going to be doing that for several hours, so you have time to join us and build up your skill doing that. So 7
p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, Saturday.
Yes, so you want to be there for that. So with that said, I want to thank you guys for watching. We broadcast every week on Monday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so, like we said, we'll be live again this Friday with some more gaming. You'll definitely be there for that. Good night, guys.
I can see far away from where I've been. He says I see a potential. I see a potential in my eyes. I see a potential. I never lost sight of the reason why you're alive. You're alive. alive. We sing, Jesus, you're alive.